This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
It's 6:02. What do I say now? Welcome to the Easthampton Conservation Commission. Do you want me to read the spiel? Should I read the spiel?
Read the spiel. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this meeting of the Easthampton Conservation Commission will be conducted in person and simultaneously by remote participation online to the greatest extent possible. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately address the proceedings in real time by technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post on the City of Easthampton's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Should an interruption occur in which the online meeting ends abruptly, both the in-person and online meetings will not be restarted, and all agenda items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting.
Yeah, and the next scheduled meeting is August 12th at 6 p.m. And for folks, I think everyone online is here for an item, is like representing a project. But if you're online, you want to make a comment, use the raise hand function. If you're in person, you want to make a comment, you can just raise your hand. The comments are typically limited to 5 minutes, but you can make more comments if you need. And if we ask you not to use the chat function unless you want to communicate with me, because it's not going to be private. It's generated into a transcript at the end of the day. So that's all I've got, and I can turn over to the first item.
All right. So being recorded. So are there any public concerns tonight or non-agenda items?
I haven't received any, but if anyone in person has anything, they're welcome to let us know.
Question about agenda items, because the list is very long. Is Main Street going to come up on the agenda?
385 Main Street?
Yes.
It's on the agenda as an open space project, but it is not on the agenda for the construction project that's proposed in the future. It's not tonight.
But it is going to be on the agenda and discussed.
I don't have any updates for it. If you have comments about that, you can wait until then, or you can do it now. The commission's cool with it, but I don't have any comments, any updates on that.
It's just hard to know if I can comment on something that's on the agenda if it's not going to be covered because it's on the agenda.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's fair. So yeah,
Yep.
if you have any.
So it's under open space updates now, and that's another place.
And that's only related to the conservation restriction. We haven't received the complete application for the construction project, so it's not on the agenda tonight. If you want to make a comment about it, you can though, because it's
the open space
Well,
discussion.
How about we do it now if it's relative to the project that may be proposed at some point? I think that would be a better time to do it.
yeah, it might be more relevant if we did it now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
If that's you're willing.
So, I know that many of the neighbors over there have not gotten, public notice, which is not your issue. That's the ZBA. However, in speaking with several of the residents nearby, particularly over on True Heart, they are talking about an issue with the water table being higher just after that initial building that's already there was built. The one that they're planning on renovating, it caused some water issues in many of the backyards. I was actually able to see one of them over the weekend when we had some rain, and basically what they have is a lake in their backyard every time it rains, which didn't occur prior to that building being built. So my concern is more construction over there is going to cause more water problems for that neighborhood. I know that the residents on the opposite side of the field have a problem with water in their front yard, basically causing a lake at times. And so that's my concern, is the disruption of the land causing more water problems for the neighbors.
Okay. Do you know specifically which buildings and about when they were built in terms of what's existing on site?
So the existing building on site is a multi-story low-income housing building that's there and behind the existing buildings on Main Street.
Mhm.
I don't know when that was built. I think 15 years ago, but I'm not positive.
Mhm.
Um,
So the west side of Main Street, you're going away from Easthampton towards Southampton and on the right,
On the right.
back in there someplace.
Yes, it is one of the building, it is slated to be renovated
Mhm.
when they build the 385, if they build the 385 Main Street. And it alone, that building alone caused water problems over there for many of the residents.
Okay. We'll do that into the,
I will,
Right.
and yeah, so that'll be in the next minutes, but I would encourage you to, when they do complete it and they come for the public hearing for the Conservation Commission permit that they're coming for, if you want to submit it written or come to the meeting and say the same thing again, that would help, just so that like it's back encompassed in that hearing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That was what I recommend.
Doing a training with residents on Wednesday about how to submit written comments.
Great, okay, cool.
They will
Perfect.
be able to do that.
Thank you. Yeah.
thank you for your comment. Appreciate it. Any other public concerns or non-agenda items?
I didn't receive any before the meeting and I don't see any raising their hand unless anybody else here has anything else.
All right. Hearing nothing, we're into public hearings and meetings, and we have one item, which is that continued to August 26th, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by GZA Geo Environmental on behalf of Crown Meadow Corporation at Holly Circle. So we're not really going to open this or discuss it today.
Just
because
a
of that's for
reminder.
continuation to August 26th.
Yep.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, and then it's just a reminder that that's on there and that will be reopened on the 26th because it was a long period of break between.
All right. So that brings us to requests for certificate of compliance. So Easthampton Park Solar 1 LLC 232 Park Street, Matt DEP file number 151293, large scale solar project out 165 lot 3.1 expires November 27th, 2024. Do we have anything on this?
In the file, and I know it looks like Andrew and Kendra are here. That made you should have the ability now to like unmute yourself and turn your camera if you want to. I made you a co-host, so you should be able to do that. Yeah, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thanks, Cassie. Do you want to lead it off or do you want me to lead it off, Cassie?
If you want to give a summary, I can summarize what the commission asked for at the last meeting for it, but otherwise, if you were just planning to present that anyways, you can do that.
Yeah. That's fine. I'll just give an introduction. I wasn't here last time. I'm Drew Vardakis. I'm the project manager with WSP. Thanks for having me. Apologies I couldn't make it last time, but also on the line is Kendra Saltzer. She was at the last meeting and did the site walk, multiple site walks, but also with Cassie and the commission member a few weeks ago. Yeah, so since the last meeting, I believe there's 3 items outstanding. One was a site walk with Cassie and the city engineer. That happened last Thursday. So Cassie, I couldn't attend, but essentially everything looked good from a stormwater perspective for things that you were looking at. And the engineer report, I believe, was provided. I had that email that you sent along, but everything said vegetation was established, drainage system appeared to be in good working order. There was the woody material in some of the basins, particularly the one to the northeast, basin D1. So that was we'll leave it there. That was one item, was the site walk for engineering. Anything to add on that, Cassie?
No, yeah, but I was with the city engineer, Diane Rossini, and her letter is in there. I can read it in full if the commission wants. And yeah, do you want me to read that?
Sure.
Okay, hold on just a second. Ooh.
So that was one item, and there was 2 others. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the letter for them in full. It's pretty short. It's basically what you just said, but it says, "Hi Cassie, during our site visit today to the solar project on Park Street, vegetation appears to be established and the drainage system appears to be in good working order. The only note is that in most of the stormwater basins, especially prevalent in basin B1, there was woody material visible. That material should be removed / mowed as part of the regular maintenance plan before it gets too large." And that's it. Signed, Diane Rossini Smith. Okay, yeah, if the commission's ready, we can go on to the next one that was outstanding.
So the next one was confirmation that the basin with the woody vegetation would be addressed. So on that note, so Soltage couldn't be here tonight, the applicant, but I have been communicating with them. They have been watching these videos. They have confirmed that the woody vegetation will be removed. It hasn't happened yet today. It's scheduled to happen later this year with the regular O&M of the mowing, but they're aware of it. I've showed them the plans where it is. So before the mowing actually happens, we're going to meet and specifically discuss with their operators that woody vegetation needs to be removed, whether it's a brush hog or the mower. If additional treatment needs to happen, they can do that, but they're fully aware of it and have agreed to the removal. So that's the second item. And connected to that, with the third item was confirmation that the O&M plan would be updated to reflect that ongoing condition to manage that. And I see, Cassie, you noted it was condition 71. So they've also agreed to that. They have updated the O&M plan already. Cassie and I spoke about having that document ready tonight. Unfortunately, we couldn't have that ready. They had multiple revisions to it, multiple reviews and signatures they needed to do. So I don't have that document finalized tonight, but they have confirmed with me that it's ongoing and I should have that document relatively soon. So those last two, yes, they've confirmed that the vegetation will be removed with the annual mow. And they have confirmed they'll provide an updated signed O&M plan to reflect that. So that's all I had to add on those two. Cassie, anything else for those?
No, that's good to know. Thank you.
So the O&M plan update wasn't about the mowing of the woody vegetation, it was about invasive species management. And I just was wondering if that's how it actually got updated or if it got updated around woody vegetation.
I can't answer that personally. I haven't seen it. We relayed the information to them that needed to be in there. I just haven't seen the document yet. So I'll take a look at it. But if it doesn't reflect the invasives, I can have them make it more clear for invasives and not just woody.
Maybe we should continue until we get that O&M plan,
Yeah.
you know, can take a quick look at it to make sure it's what we expected.
Okay. And does the commission want to see, would you also anticipate wanting to continue until the woody vegetation is removed? Or do you feel like maybe some confirmation in writing that they are going to be doing that as part of their regular maintenance? It's up to you guys. So we could say, you know, really you should just continue until they've done that management, or do you want to say continue until you have the O&M plan updated with the invasives and the woody? The woody management's already should be right in there because that's the regular mowing. And then just getting some letter saying that they're going to do it. It's up to you guys.
What kind of woody vegetation? I'm picturing like sumac.
I
in
have
my
a
head,
picture.
but-
It's not huge. I'll show a picture here in a second. But it's, you know, it's just in basin D1, it's kind of along the entirety of the floor of the basin. Is like not even a 1 inch in diameter yet,
Mhm.
but it's just so prevalent that I was like, you really need to remove it. And in the other basins, there would be like one woody veg, one woody, like each one had like 1 or 2. It wasn't like a ton like this one is. So those ones it's just general maintenance, but D1 just, it did have a lot. But let me cycle through really quickly from my pictures and just show you that one so you can see it. I don't know what species of plant it is, honestly.
Yeah, Kendra and I and some others were looking at it. We weren't exactly sure. Kendra, feel free to chime in. I do have your email up, Cassie. If you want me to share my screen, I can do that unless you have it.
Yeah, share it. If you have the picture, that'd be great. I'm like finding it in a big mix. So
Yeah. I just have, let's see. Sharing the whole screen here. Let me know. Hopefully I don't screw this up.
there we go.
So it's going to be hard to tell on an email without me being able to zoom into this, but that's what you sent last week after your visit.
Okay, hold on just a second. I might have to do mine because it'll be easier to see.
Okay, let me pull this down. Sorry about that.
It's worth a try.
And if you're good with your plant identifications on screens via emails and
Right. Okay.
And,
So hold
the
on.
best.
Share my screen. So this is just showing that it like kind of is, like, I'm gonna zoom in more, but it's like extending down along this basin. The basin is like stretches out before us here. It's pretty long. It goes all along, but just showing that it's prevalent really along just that bottom of the basement. It's this kind of leafier vegetation compared to this taller, herbaceous stuff. And let's see if I have a picture that kind of shows. Again, it's not even an inch across yet, but when you're close, you can tell. This kind of shows it right here. Trying to see how it's woody there. It's just one example. I was trying to get just the bottom of the basin, but I don't know the species, but it's just kind of very consistent
What's on
throughout.
top of it?
Yeah. Hold on.
Well, hard to tell from the stem.
I know. Just that was more. I was just trying to show you that it was woody, but you can kind of see in this picture here what the top looks like.
It's not sumac anyway.
It's not sumac.
That's what I was picturing.
Yeah,
My
some
bad.
leafy guy, but I don't know what it is. There's no flowering or seeding or anything, so.
I mean, I guess the thing I'm trying to make sense of is if that was already a condition, it was already in the O and M. Yeah. I mean, obviously, if we give a certificate of compliance, we're not gonna be able to monitor forever whether you're mowing the basins or not, but I guess it would be helpful to understand why they haven't been mowed or how often they'll be mowed so that we can sort of feed that information back into whether it makes sense to close it out, because we can say like, no, we're not going to issue a certificate of compliance until you actually mow it, but that doesn't mean you're going to mow it again in the future.
So the certificate of compliance establishes the operations maintenance plan. They have to kind of keep up with that.
Right.
And that's their responsibility. And if there's any issue with the stormwater systems in the future, the city can be like, have you been doing it? You're supposed to do this reporting, keeping track of these things, have it on file. And if they don't, then they could be at risk for getting an enforcement order if there is an issue. So that's kind of what keeps them beholden to doing it. But if you're right, once we issue the certificate of compliance, I'm not going to be going out there every year still to make sure they're doing it.
You're
It's
never going to go out there again.
unless there's an issue or they have a new, well, I guess I'll never go out there. That's true. But if there was an issue or if they want to change some of their projects, something we'd be looking at, like, is this being maintained correctly? If there have been any issues, like, so it's within their best interest to do it correctly. They want the system to be operating correctly, generally, most projects. So this one, it's just, this one, I wonder if it looks like, since there isn't woody vegetation in the majority of the basins, it seems like they have been doing the maintenance, as far as I can tell. It's just this one, for whatever reason, these woody plants like took over. Either this year, or maybe Drew can speak to it, when they did the last maintenance.
Yeah, I don't have that information. Since it was done and closed out for the most part, I hadn't been there until I met you there. So I can't tell you the last mowing date. I can find that out, and relay that, but I don't know the last date it was mowed, fortunately.
Do we have a copy of the O and M plan, original one?
Yeah.
And all the original NOI documents. I don't have it in front of me, but it should have been all in there.
Does it say how often it would?
Yeah,
go
it would
there?
say, so let's see. I can pull that up.
I think it was annual.
That's typical, that it would be these once or twice a year.
Yeah, I mean, if that's typical, then it's typical that there'd be woody vegetation in it.
So,
I guess I think my preference would be just to continue this until, and ask for
Yeah,
The-
updated O and M.
updated on them for the woody, maybe an idea on that woody vegetation, make sure it's not something invasive or
Yeah.
whatever. And then just make sure that's managed. So at least we're starting off at like a good baseline,
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
yeah, it's gonna take me a minute to like pull it up and find the old one, because I was like, oh, we're getting a new one, updated one anyway, so I don't have it like prepared, ready to pull up here. But yeah, okay, so
So motion to continue till,
well, so, did you hear that in the interweb, land over there? Yep. Yeah. When would we want to continue to get those things taken care of?
Sorry, go ahead, Cassie.
no, I guess it's really on you guys of when you think you'd be able to provide that.
Yeah, I think August 12th is fine for the O&M document, but I'd want to get that to you or commission first to make sure you're all set with that before it's signed, sealed, delivered. But I would have to confirm the actual mowing date because that's the thing I don't know. So if it's continued until after that, that's the wild card. I'm not sure when the mowing is scheduled.
Well, I guess the commission could continue to August 12th, and then we can check in. And if you guys are like, you know, we're not ready, that's fine. Then we can just continue it at that meeting again, to the next. We just have to check in with you.
Yep.
Yeah, that works for us.
Motion to continue until August 12th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. All those in favor, Commissioner Carr,
Aye.
Commissioner August, Commissioner Weeks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Alrighty, thanks for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Next on the agenda is Easthampton School Committee, Mass DP File 151305 for construction of a new school building, associated parking, driveway, utilities, stormwater system, traffic field, facilities, site amenities, and landscaping at 200 Park Street, map 157, lot 83. The order of conditions expires on July 25th, 2025. We're actually talking about this tonight? Wow.
Yeah. Are they gone?
They're again. So let's talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess if you guys want to state your names there.
Yeah, Joel Kent with Five Dane Brothers. Member serving niche engineer or the site civil engineers of the project.
All right. So, what do we have here?
Okay, so the project has kind of been like, in terms of construction, has been complete since, when would you say, I guess? When did you finish building it?
Let's see. Well, in fall of 22. Is that right? For the building? Yeah, that's right. And then site fall of 23. It's been ongoing site work during that period. Athletic field work and other stuff.
So the things that we're looking for when we're issuing this certificate of compliance would be compliance with all the parameters that are in the order of conditions, and that includes as-built drawings. It includes, there's also a stormwater permit for this project, so it includes the city engineer reviewing the project to make sure that the stormwater system is completed correctly. It includes a letter from the project stating that the project was completed in compliance. And you guys also provided like a separate letter just about the stormwater system and review of that. And let's see what else is there. There's more, but those are like the big ones that usually are the take the longest to. So hold on just a second. Okay. And so I know that you guys did a review of the stormwater system, so maybe that's the place to start if you guys want to kind of describe what you found there. And there's a report in there that I can show on the screen in a second.
Yeah, so we did a kind of what we refer to as a punch list walkthrough of the site last fall, I think, and identified a few things that need to get kind of pulled together in terms of the stormwater systems, particularly some of the non-structural systems. Is a bunch of gravel wetlands on the site. There are bioretention cells, bioretention basins, some other things. So we provide a punch list report, and the site contractors address those. And we've not had the benefit of having basically gone through another growing season for those basins. So we did a final walkthrough. Actually, was on site yesterday. Looking at all those systems, all the non-structural systems, the structural stuff in terms of the drainage collection and piping system, there's a subsurface detention system. Those components were all kind of reviewed during the course of construction. We also reviewed, and we can get to this in a second, but we reviewed record documents that were prepared during construction. So we had a level of comfort knowing that everything's where it's supposed to be. In terms of that infrastructure, the stuff that we reviewed in detail yesterday, or I reviewed, is related to the full grow out and stabilization of all the non-structural stuff. So there are a series of water quality cells on the access drive, which you see there. Other features. We can step through them one at a time if you want, but the bottom line is they all look like they've all grown in properly. They're all functioning properly. There's no evidence of any erosive conditions or Water basically not being where it's supposed to be or being where it isn't supposed to be. The main thing we were really looking for yesterday was kind of a big feature of the site is there's a large bioretention area in the back of the school, which had some sediment intrusion issues that had been struggled with during the course of the work. That looks like those have been rectified. The basin's fully stabilized with healthy vegetation now. When I was there yesterday around midday, I think we had a little bit of rain the day before, maybe the night before, not a lot, but there was no standing water in the basin. It looks like it's draining properly. So that's really it. Not a lot to report because we really didn't identify any deficiencies anywhere. Everything looks good. Looks like it's good. A lot of the time we're asked to provide these letters without having the benefit of these being in the ground for as long as they have. Actually, these features have been constructed for a couple of years now, basically. So there were a couple bumps along the way that got fixed up, and it looks like everything's where it's supposed to be and functioning the way it's supposed to. So, and that's in the narrative letter that we submitted. We actually submitted our final field report, which is what you see here, with a certification letter referring to that. Build conditions, etc. For one pager.
Yep.
And so I will, thank you for that. Just to kind of add on to it, one of the things that the city engineer, and I'll read her letter in a second, but one of the things that she was questioning is like, are these little wetland cells, these wet water quality cells supposed to be there along the road? And you had explained that they are, there's these check dams, stone check dams along the driveway as well. And those can be removed. They don't need to stay. They weren't supposed to stay, but they're still there. And it's not like a detriment if they're staying.
Yeah, I think I referred to that in the field report that they don't need to be there. They're intended to be temporary, but they will not impede the function of the cells themselves. I mean, if anything, over time, what's probably going to happen is basically going to wind up with those will probably each turn into one little, even more mini water quality cells than the ones that are actually there. So it'll just improve over time. But it's because I think you noted that one of the city engineer noted that one looked like they might have been disturbed and did it need to be repaired? And my answer was no, they don't even really need to be there. So.
And so I bring it up because we were looking at like, okay, is there any place where there is like standing water still in any of the basins? The big rear basin, I was able to go out there after a major rain event 48 hours after and confirm that it was dry then. When the city engineer and I went out for our site visit on the 18th, we also were able to see that there was water, like it was functioning. It was a very small amount of water still entering into the basin from the rest of the system, but there wasn't hardly any standing water in the basin itself. So it appeared to be functioning correctly. The only other place where we saw standing water was for this small basin here, this discharge point, this level spreader. It's kind of near like the crossing kind of adjacent to one of the gravel wetlands. But yeah, if you want to explain.
It's just upstream of one of the inlet areas for the culvert that runs under the access drive. So these are level spreaders. They're basically energy dissipation basins for the stormwater discharges. So the fact that there is some standing water in one of them is really not a big deal. It's probably a result of some sediment accumulation, which is fine. These aren't really treatment devices. They're really just energy dissipation devices. So you don't wind up with erosive conditions from a major stormwater discharge. So it could be that, it could be, I think I remember when they excavated that one, I think they might've been into the groundwater table a little bit too, possibly.
Yep.
So groundwater could be at play there too, but it's really not an issue that there's water in that basin.
I think at one point, it could have been last fall when we last walked with Cassie. We did drain that down, clean everything out, and it's now holding water again. So
Yeah, this was a location that I would have checked repeatedly. Sometimes it would have, when previously had turbid water in it. So that was a concern, like why is it coming out turbid? But it sounds like this thing to me that looked clear when I was there, like this kind of water didn't look like that before. And then the last piece was for the there's all kinds of the kind of green infrastructure, stormwater management around the building itself that Diane felt looked good. We're going to read her letter here in a second, but the last comment was for near kind of around the perimeter, the perimeter of the site in various locations, there has been, and this is something is a correction that needs to happen for the maintenance crew for the school. They are dumping, grass clippings and things within the 100-foot buffer zone, which is not allowed. That's a violation. So they need to be told that to stop doing that. But the concern was particularly related to this large basin, is that the under drain outlet was at risk of now getting covered by these clippings and things. So this large basin has an under drain that has an outlet by the woods. That was a change the commission approved, but it needs to not be like covered with clippings. These clippings shouldn't be there either way,
They're,
but
they're almost there. They're about
like a foot
two,
away.
3 feet away.
Yeah. So it needs to be. Yep.
And what's the status of the communication with the maintenance?
I don't know if you guys are able to reach out to them yet. Are you?
Is it, do you know if the city does it themselves or if they use a subcontractor?
I think it's the DPW because they have that maintenance shed. So was what I was going to do, is try to follow up with DPW if it wasn't something that y'all knew who it was. So
Yeah, we're not really involved in that.
okay.
Meeting.
I need to reach out to the DPW and stop it. That's a violation. And the commission, you could pursue an enforcement order, but I find it likely the city would be amenable to stopping doing that. The grass clippings can be deposited other places as long as it's outside of the 100-foot buffer zone on site. There could be other places to post it or move it. So it doesn't feel like a huge ask.
Yeah, I think there was actually another spot too. I didn't get a picture of it, but over near one of the level spreader areas on the west side. There's
Yes.
a couple of piles there too.
Yeah, there are some other spots that they need to not do it. So that's a question of that's one thing for the commission to consider, is do you see that cleaned up before you would issue a certificate of compliance? That would be a valid thing.
I also just was wondering, that huge basin in the very back that had basically turned into like a kind of a meadow at one point. I understand it's been corrected and it's functioning properly now, but what was the problem with it that you had to correct?
Well, we think that sediment migrated into the basin and was interfering with the function of the underdrain. It was cleaned out and reworked with some marginal success. I think they went at it a couple of times.
Is that possibility that might happen again?
No, I don't think so, because now all the upstream vegetated areas are all fully stabilized. So there's no sediment moving across the site now. So the only other sediment that could get in there, if there's, if the roads are sanded or something like that, but that tends to be really coarse material that wouldn't cause an issue. So as I'm sure everyone's aware, the natural soils on this site were very challenging to deal with because they had a very high silt content.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take a lot of that kind of material to move around to cause problems. But now that the site's fully, with mature vegetation everywhere, it's fully stabilized. I don't think it's a concern really.
We did at one point, before the commission, with a plan to lower and extend the under drain system to allow it to drain more freely as well. And that's all put in place at this point.
Is it in the maintenance plan to keep checking that?
For systems like that, they're really not intended to be maintained per se, unless there is sediment accumulated. And I think that's probably in the O&M. So the way these are designed, they're really intended to just kind of naturalize over time,
Right.
And not be maintained. So, but they're on the list I don't know the exact language or frequency. They're in the list as a maintenance item to be observed. So if there's an obvious problem, like if they went out in the basin after a couple of days of a rainfall was full of water and it's not supposed to be, that would flag out in the O&M plan and prompt investigation as to why that was happening. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
it's on the list of items to check. During the,
I'm trying to remember through the project, and I remember that design change with that basin. And then also there was something else by the crossing under the road. It was like a design change there or something. Do we have that captured in record drawings, as-built drawings?
you think about the sewer one or right into the drain?
I thought there was I thought there was a level spreader or some kind of outlet change down by White
Yeah,
Brook.
there was we made some modifications to a level spreader on the north side of the road access drive.
Yes, yeah,
On the west side of the brook.
Yep.
It was basically, wound up getting a lot larger than was originally intended because there was a topographic discrepancy at the stream bank. I think that's what the reason was.
Mhm.
There's a picture of it in here. It's kind of hard to see. It's actually grown in a lot more than I expected it to be. It's that first one, so it's really hard to make out, but yeah, so it's all stabilized. There's no, of all the 3 level spreaders I looked at, there was no sediment in there. It's slowly being consumed by surrounding plants, which is nice. So it's not as visible as it was before, but seems to be functioning fine.
okay.
And that's captured in the record documents. I'm sure they'll pick it up.
Yeah, well, so that was issued as a SKC to the civil drawings
Right.
that got captured in the
Right.
drawings for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so we haven't received the as-built drawings yet, is the other thing. So we do need to get those. If are there any other questions you want to read this city? Yes.
So if this area keeps filling with water, could that be a mosquito problem?
Yeah, I suppose it's pretty far from any of the place where people are, and it'll get flushed out every time it rains. So
Okay. And the other area with the grass clippings, can we ask to have the clippings removed?
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. In the site walk, did that include like looking through the stormwater catch basins and things just to make sure they're cleaned and all that sorts of things?
So we did that originally with the previous city engineer. That was done. I'm gonna pull up Diane's letter because she notes when it was done. But we did do it while he was still here. That was back in. It was after the work was completed and the site was stabilized. Because we were like, oh, maybe they're gonna come for a COC then. But they did not because the rear basin I think was still not functioning correctly. Let's see. So I'm gonna. Well, I should reference what day it was. I have it last fall. Yeah.
So Cassie, I didn't reference it in the field report I did from yesterday just because I was focused more on the non-structural stuff. But I spot checked a bunch of the catch basins while I was there, and I didn't see there's no sediment built up anywhere. And, it doesn't look like there's really. It didn't open any structures, but some of what looked like they might have been hot spots, and it didn't look like there's much accumulation. So, if any, that I can see.
Are there subsurface treatment units or infiltration gallery things?
There's no infiltration. There's a subsurface detention system. It's not an infiltration field.
Okay.
And there's a hydrodynamic separator that provides treatment to flow that runs through that system as well. And I believe that was looked at when the city engineer did their to walk through that Nancy's talking about.
So the previous city engineer, we went out there and we popped the manholes and things like that. And he was looking in there. That was on December 8th, 2022.
Okay.
And we can look at those pictures if you want, but I just want to read Diane's letter first.
Sure.
And then because she kind of talks about it, she reviewed, I sent her all those pictures from that site visit. And in my notes, I don't have any there was other fixes that were needed on site at that time in terms of like, oh, you need to stabilize the spot or these controls in the rear basin and things like that. But I didn't have anything in my notes about more cleaning needed for the structures at that time. And so Diane said, I'm following up with you regarding the school stormwater permit. It is my understanding that following construction, you and Dan Murphy did a site visit to inspect the underground drainage system, including the on-site manholes, catch basins, and other underground structures, and he found they were functioning properly. For that reason, we did not re-inspect these structures on our site visit last Thursday. During the Thursday site visit, we took a look at all above ground drainage features. There were a few inches of rain the day prior, Wednesday, and all the infiltration basins were not holding much water. Less than 24 hours after the storm, with some water trickling out of the inlet into the basins, which indicates to me the basins are working properly. All of the other above ground features appear to be functioning, and there was growth established throughout the site. The only thing of note was that there was evidence of dumping of yard waste along the perimeter of the property near the wetland buffer zone. One of these locations at the rear school was behind the bioretention basin 1 and was blocking the PVC pipe outlet at that location. Please let me know if you need any additional information from me. So yeah, we can look at those pictures. The commission was like, I guess you have your testimony of what you saw when you popped down. That's a question if the commission is that recent enough, is that sufficient in terms of like the substructures?
Does that PVC pipe need to have some kind of flagging or
Talked about it.
marking, color, something?
They shouldn't be dumping anything anyways, but I think it'd be a good idea. I was planning to mention that to them as well. Be like, don't forget this is here. You gotta
Right.
maintain that.
Yep. I guess if you want to bring up a couple photos to
Yeah.
just,
Of my recent visit or
I'd be interested to see the inside of the structures, if you've got photos of that, just from your recent
Yeah.
visit too.
I have the ones from the structures where they, when Dan Murphy was there, the previous engineer.
Mhm.
I have those pictures. I'll do those ones first. Let me get to them, make sure. Okay. So it's hard to tell from the pictures, but I will show them to you. So let's see. So this is basically the extent was the main focus was to open up these manholes and kind of take a peek inside. I know it's hard to tell, but
Mhm.
because it's more Dan Murphy being out there and looking in them. He's the one who was able to make the assessment as the engineer.
Well, the water's below the overflow.
Right. So these are, yeah, this is from pictures inside some of the gravel wetlands, I think is how you're describing them. Because then there's these large areas that receive the stormwater and then, yeah, they go in. Okay. No, it's just the bobcat. So we still have the turbidity curtain. That basin, again, this is old erosion that has since been corrected. My focus when my notes to them was regarding these erosion areas that have since been, this was not there when we did our most recent site visit.
Is this where those new cell?
Yeah, it's near
cell
there.
pieces
It's
are?
really near there, yeah. Another one of the issues that it was addressed. I don't know if I have any other pictures of inside the structures. Other than that, oh, there he is getting in. We looked for sediment trying to come out from out these outlets as well. It didn't appear to be the case, especially when we look at the most recent site visit. Other issues that have been addressed along the edges. This one.
Okay, so at that time, Dan was satisfied.
Yes, I just took a picture of this funny scratch ball.
That's your first time
That's
seeing one.
God. Sorry. Anyways, moving on. What did you say then? Sorry.
So, but yeah, Dan Murphy was satisfied that they were in good condition, like there were not sediment built up within the subsurface structures at that time.
That's what I had in my notes, and the site was largely stable at that point. There were these fixes that were needed, so I would not anticipate that since that time they were receiving sediment from the rest of the site, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
because the majority of it was stabilized. But yeah, sounds like you also went in there and we're looking at them, some of them.
I spot checked just through the grates.
Yep.
So I always wonder if people like wonder what I'm doing. I have my face down like I see couldn't plant the right grade. But yeah, I checked maybe half a dozen basins and they all had just well, standing water, obviously. So they do, but I didn't see any evidence of sediment in it. So
I also got a public comment from Bob Parent about the project, if you want me to read that now, or if you could still have more questions. I don't know when's the right time to go to that.
I may as well read it now. Yep.
Okay. This is submitted to me Saturday, July 20th. So he has a note here saying goodbye, which is nice because this is my last meeting. But he also said, I see that a request for certificate of compliance for the Mountain View School project will be discussed at the upcoming commission meeting. If this hasn't already happened, I would strongly recommend that the commission require the project designer to inspect all the on-site stormwater facilities and verify that they have been properly maintained and cleaned before the certificate is issued. As you know, I watched the site closely throughout construction and saw frequent discharges of heavy sediment-laden water to these facilities. I don't have any quantifiable evidence of this, but it does appear that frequency and magnitude of stormwater discharges from the site have increased, possibly a sign of system non-performance. Since the city is currently lacking many in-house technical resources, I would suggest that the Conservation Commission retain an outside third party to assist in the review of the performance of the stormwater system with respect to its design and intent. And if necessary, recommend remedial action. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you. And that's what I got.
Okay. So as of right now, we're waiting for record drawings, as-built drawings or whatever. We have the other materials that we need, it sounds like, an engineer statement, photos and various things. You've done a site visit. And do you all have further questions or anything at this time? Okay.
Do you think that we need an outside reviewer?
I don't know. I'd like to see I'd like to see the record drawings a little bit, and the flag elevations are about what they should be and all those kinds of things, and it's free sediment. I guess I wouldn't see that it could be different than the design intent, in a significant kind of way, so that's kind of where my mind is going right now.
What did he say that there was an increase in flow and what?
So his perspective was
The
that,
last paragraph.
yes, hold on, I'll reread it. He said, I don't have any quantifiable evidence of this, but it does appear that frequency and magnitude of stormwater discharges from the site have increased, possibly a sign of system non-performance. I haven't received any complaints or evidence to that, but he lives right near there, so it's his
Could
perspective.
it also be a sign that it's performing?
No, I mean, I don't, there wouldn't be an increase in discharge if it was performing correctly, but I didn't see any evidence when I was on site or I've ever been on site where I've seen, if there was excess discharge happening somewhere, that's when you'd see erosion conditions, you'd see, pretty significant evidence of that. I haven't seen anything, and I'm not sure exactly what he means by increase quantity of discharge. That could mean a lot of things. So.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, the old school, it was a huge amount of, impervious cover with no stormwater detention or anything. Now stormwater is a lot more visible on the site, because it hangs around on the site.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there too. Rainfall distribution patterns and intensities are changing everywhere, including here.
Well, I guess that's what I meant by maybe that means it's working because if there's increased rainfall and increased discharge.
Yeah, even some of these 1-inch storms that happen in
Exactly.
15 minutes or less, even the last month or two have been a little bit wild, So I don't know. We'll see what the record drawings
So,
look like.
from our perspective, the bottom line is that the site's stable. Nothing looks like, because it's been in place for a couple of years now. We've had some pretty, severe weather in that time period, and everything looks like it's holding together fine, and there isn't any evidence of detrimental conditions resulting from stormwater discharge from the project. So there's nothing we've seen.
Have you guys been checking after major storm?
That's part of the O&M plan, but we haven't as designers. It's not really our role. So
Do we have those monitoring reports?
They're not required to submit them to us, so I don't have them. We might be able to request them. It would be the DPW at this stage because they've kind of accepted the maintenance and the operations of the building now. Senator job for it, but I don't know.
I guess that's my, when you say that it's the DPW that, kind of has responsibility for the site, that's, I guess I'd like verification that that is the case so that
Okay.
we know that it's not the school committee, just so we know like who it is going
Yeah.
forward and have that be like documented in the O&M plan, like just so it's not like, oh, I thought you guys were doing it,
Yeah.
I don't know. Cause in my mind, it would be the school. And I like,
I see what you're saying.
yeah, I lived on a street in Amherst when I was in school where the DPW said the school committee owned it and school committee said the DPW owned it, so that
Gotcha.
nobody maintained it, it was just like this big battle thing,
I agree. I think, yes, let's
Yeah.
get that confirmation in writing. I think that I might be just like saying it in a too general way. I think it's under the umbrella of DPW is a maintenance crew that's for the school, but I don't know.
Yep.
But there is like a guy that has been referenced to me as like, oh, that's the school
Yep.
maintenance guy. And I need to like,
Okay.
I'll get that.
All right.
Maybe that guy can come to our next meeting.
Maybe if you want, if you guys require that, whatever you want to require.
Well, wasn't there another one we just talked about a few minutes ago that we were like, that's the DPW's responsibility? Was it?
The clippings?
Yeah. I guess
That's this
the
project.
clippings, that was
Yeah.
still this one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It seems like we need the DPW to weigh in about a couple of things.
Okay, just like.
Because we have to wait for the as-built anyway as well.
Mhm.
I don't know if they actually need to attend, but they could report.
Yeah,
But yeah, okay, is
Just-
that okay? Yeah, we could ask for them to attend, but if a letter from DPW is sufficient, then that's what we can ask it, so I can ask for.
yep, I think us having it well documented, like what department, division, element, whatever the city is responsible and will be responsible for maintenance, so that way we know like exactly and have it in the file.
And do we still want to have someone identify in at the bike? Like
Yeah.
some kind of
Oh, put like a
marking and
flag.
who's
Oh, yeah.
responsible with that.
Doesn't seem like a big ask. Yeah.
Anything from the commission? Think-
So, okay.
I was gonna ask for public questions or comments from in the room or out of the room.
Anyone online, you can use the raise hand function. But I don't see any. So I have on my notes, we need the as-built, and then I need to reach out to DPW and get confirmation from them that they're gonna be maintaining it and like in charge of the things. Or like who is in DPW.
No, they're gonna put a big purple smiley face on that pipe that says don't dump.
And a flag, yeah. And the clippings and all like
Yeah.
it, yeah.
So there are some silt fences that we left up in the fall until that stuff established. We have to go out and pull those silt fences now anyways. I will mark that pipe while we're out there if that makes it easier.
If that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Find some kind of a clear marker.
Well, I'll communicate to DPW anyway, so they know. They shouldn't be putting anything over there, and either way, but we need to like check it as part of their maintenance.
I made jokes with this guy, so I want to be like, no, I want an opaque marker, not a clear one. No, I know. My wife said last night I could stand to get more sleep, and I said, no, I prefer to sleep lying down.
Oh my God, we're going to have to get stuck in a pun pipe
Sorry.
spiral.
All right,
Okay,
so,
cool. So, I guess, if you want to continue.
yeah, should we continue the next meeting, or does it make sense to go out?
Yeah, we already have the as-built.
Oh, okay.
Sent out. Yeah,
All right, so let us continue to, what is it, August 12th? Oh, yeah, I can't move tonight. All right,
Motion to continue to August 12th.
Second.
roll call vote. All those in favor, Commissioner Carr,
Aye.
Commissioner August, Commissioner Weeks,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Ryan, I see you're online. I don't know if you're here for, there's two Brians spelled two different ways. It might be that you're here for the 93, 95, 97 Northampton Street item. And if you are, if you just raise your hand, let me know, because we can take that item out of order. Okay, I'm gonna make you a co-host. Yeah, I would ask the commission to take item. Oh, which one is it? Oh, you don't. 8P. Agenda order.
He is involved.
Yeah, that's correct.
Do the motion to take 8P out of order.
So I'll motion that we take 8P order and deal with that now.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Commissioner August.
Aye.
Commissioner Hart.
Aye.
Commissioner Weeks.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So, the main outstanding thing, they've submitted a number of pre-construction documents. They've not yet completed any of the on-site pre-construction requirements. So that is still pending. The project has not been cleared to begin, even if and when we finish these document review items here. We also have not yet received the NEPA, final kind of letter saying that process is done. That's one of the other outstanding documents. But what they're waiting on for documentation from the commission is for us to choose the construction monitor. And so we narrowed it that we have these two options, Beals and Thomas and Weston and Sampson. At the last meeting, I presented the additional information that the commission had requested. But the commission requested comments from the chair before they made a final decision, which I think is valid. And she was able to provide a letter in which she indicated that she believes the commission should choose Weston and Sampson. And that's her recommendation for a selection. It's your guys' decision if you agree with that or not. Based on her review. Let's see, she did. Let me pull up the real quick. The letter itself. But she did say what? With me.
You did say they answered all of our questions and there was no more additional.
Yeah, at the last meeting, we didn't identify any additional questions from what I have in my notes. So it was really kind of wanting to see if we could get some feedback from the chair related to who she felt might be a good selection. And so her note said, hi, Cassie, I'd be inclined to go with Weston and Sampson. Their approach seems more in line with what we requested. And I was not overly impressed with Beals and Thomas when they did the peer review in terms of their representation on the city's behalf. And so, yeah, that's her recommendation.
So do we vote on that or?
I recommend that you do vote, because then you can say, yeah, the commission definitively is choosing Weston and Sampson. What I will do tomorrow and like through the rest of the week, and I pretty much before I leave, is get that contracting completed, get the money from, so we have to get a contract with Weston and Sampson, which we already have, but get the final version, get the funds from the project permittee. I will put that in escrow. Then once I have that in escrow, I will sign the contract with Weston and Sampson. Weston and Sampson works for us, but we pay them out of this escrow account. And yeah, we'll just do that till the project is completed, essentially. But yeah, that's kind of like the process that will happen after you guys choose someone.
Okay. Weston and Sampson was the more expensive of the two options, right? In terms of cost, or were they comparable?
I don't remember how it broke down in terms of the cost for each individual service,
Yep.
because that would better identify which one's more expensive.
Mhm.
They might be asking for more upfront
Mhm.
as their estimate of what we needed for that first year,
Mhm.
but it's impossible to say how much it would cost. Those estimates almost are not as important. They're important, but they're not as important in that we likely will need to request additional funds throughout the life of the project as we continue monitoring. It depends on how much rain do we get. If we get a ton of rain, there are going to be more reports to review. if there's something weird happens in the project or they need to do a change, and they're gonna need to be involved and understand that and how many site visits are gonna need it. If the crossing construction is delayed for some reason and takes longer than the 2 weeks that they guessed it would take, that would increase the cost. So it's kind of impossible to say how much it'll be, but the understanding is that we will be keeping on top of it and requesting more funds from the applicant by permittee throughout the process.
They had more travel expenses.
Yep.
Because they're further out.
From Reading.
But we don't necessarily have to make a decision based on costs and the, okay.
Yeah.
Do we need the applicants like, agreement or whatever, or do we, does it?
No, so I've been sharing these materials. Brian is here. I've been
Yep.
sharing them with him. They're certainly welcome to make a comment to the commission and make a request like, oh, we wanted to choose this one. Here's why. Commission's discretion if they want to
Okay.
do anything in relation to that. Brian, I don't know if you had any comments. I haven't received any written from you.
I mean, we're aware it's pretty much up to the commission. Beals and Thomas did the third-party review, so they're much more familiar with the project, but if the chair wasn't impressed with their service, it is what it is. I think my only ask would be is we find some common ground on what the upfront payment would be. I'm looking at Weston and Sampson's estimated annual total, and it's almost $80,000. I would really hate to require the applicant to put that in escrow for a whole 12 months while this project, tries to get up and running. If we could maybe find a way to do it, quarterly or some way to try to get a lower initial funding allocation.
It's up to the commission. I don't know. I mean, never did it that way with Bernardston. I only did it twice. Bernardston. An interesting question.
Is it a percentage we would need or that full?
Whatever you guys feel like would be comfortable. Also, we need something that Weston and Sampson would need to be comfortable with as well.
Yeah, it seems like we have that done. I'm just looking at the comparison of some of the rates. Actually, Weston and Sampson rates are actually lower. Like the full day cost. Oh, wait. Yeah, the full day cost for Weston and Sampson was $1,670, and for Beals and Thomas it was $2,000. Yeah, it seems like their estimations of the amount of time are quite different. So is that something we need to ask Weston and Sampson then?
If the commission is interested in trying to accommodate that, it is something that we can ask Weston and Sampson and say, how do we figure out what would be the right way to go forward in that?
I mean, Weston and Sampson has no real say over how the commission collects escrow. They just have a say over getting paid when they bill. And obviously we understand that if the escrow is depleted, we're in violation of our order and the project can't continue. So I'm not looking to avoid payment. I'm just looking to see if there's a way to avoid putting $80,000 up before the job even starts.
So you have to put the full amount in escrow for 1 year?
Yeah, that's what this
Okay.
first one was just what is the first kickoff amount? Because that's how it worked. When you did in Bernardston, with these solar companies, we'd be we need this bulk amount to get started. And then obviously we'll be in touch as soon as we get close to getting near the end of that periodically as we need more. It's a good point. Yeah. If we needed more, it would just basically mean we might need to ask for more sooner if it worked out that way. But they would need to provide it or else the commission would stop the project essentially.
Yeah.
We need the monitor there to do the project. The commission would be empowered to do that and say oh, if you're not giving us the re-up on this amount of escrow funds, then we're going to stop the project because we can't pay the monitor. So sorry. That's
Because like a cease and desist.
essentially. can issue enforcement orders, a lot of actions the commission could take that would be compelling and very effective.
And as this is all estimated on kind of a time and materials basis, maybe we just pick a number, $10,000 or $15,000 that we put in escrow for the first payment. And then as we approach renewing that, we'll have a better understanding of how slowly or quickly they're going through the money. And we can increase or decrease that next allotment.
But you don't want to have to, or have the agent keep reaching out. Or
It's not a huge burden. Would be more work. Kind of, I mean, that's something that the agent will have to be doing anyways, is keeping track of these invoices and paying them out of the system and being like, keeping track of how much funds are left. It would probably just increase, at least it would certainly move up the time of the first request for more funds.
Well, isn't like the first thing is the bridge crossing, which was like $30,000.
16,500 in this.
this is the updated answers.
Maybe not, June 2024. I guess that's probably.
Should be, it was on top there.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's updated.
That's very important.
The big cost item is review the SWIP and review the SWIP/stability monitoring reports, and that's spread. That would be spread out throughout the year.
I guess what I'm saying is 10 or 15,000 seems very low. So, I mean, what if we made it at least the amount that Fields and Thomas was saying? Which would be quite a bit more than 10 or 15,000, less than 80.
Did Julie say anything about Marcus?
No, I hadn't. This is the first that this is posted. It's to do with this one.
What did we do with Fields and Thomas?
What do you mean?
When they were doing
Oh, yeah.
first monitoring?
Because that was, so they didn't do monitoring work at any time.
Okay.
They did a peer review,
Here, yeah.
which is a very set scope. And so we knew had like, this was what the services they were going to do is. So it really was like, this is a one-time, get the funds from the applicant for this amount of this service. And then I paid it to them through the invoices until they were done and the funds were gone. And that was like a one-time thing. There was no, unless that the commission had.
Cassie, there was a second round of revisions that they.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a second round. So that was the way that we did it, is that there was the first estimate, they gave the money, the assumption was potentially that would be the one, but then the commission was like, cool, check the work again. They checked the work from the new information that was provided by the applicant. At least once, I can't remember, Brian, if there was more than one iterations of that, but.
I can't either, but I know there was at least a follow-up round and we provided that second ask of money immediately.
Yep.
So the Fields and Thomas proposals for about half.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, and you know, you guys are right. Part of the cost difference seems to be a big difference, maybe in the number of, the number of things that they're sending for different things. So,
But I think one of the big costs was Julie saying their proposal seemed more in line with what we were looking for, was doing the all-day monitoring on the stream crossing. And so it seems like.
yeah.
I don't know what I was gonna say. I don't know. I mean, what if we just asked for 40,000 instead of 80?
Trying to guess if Weston Sampson would have any issue with that. I don't know, right? Like, because they're big, like just generally with this idea, no matter what the amount is. My guess would be no, because we're contracting with them for this that this is their estimate of what the full amount is, and we're just going to be giving that potentially over time instead of in one lump sum. They're not going to get this money right away either way. It just gets put in escrow for us. And then we pay them as we get the invoices.
Right.
So like, I don't know, as a person in the private sector, do you have a guess of like how if we need to talk to them first?
I don't think we need to talk to them first.
As long
It's
as we
just,
pay them.
yeah. Yeah, it would just be making sure that there was enough money to pay them with when they're on time and when their invoices came in.
And if there was an issue, they stop work, they stop.
Yeah,
Right.
if we don't have the funds to do the monitoring, then they're not in compliance with the order of conditions anymore. Because the monitoring isn't happening, which means the commission would issue a stop work order. And if it continues to be the case, they would issue an enforcement order and we would go down that path of enforcement. So that would be the mechanism to be like, oh, this needs to keep happening. We need to stop.
Back in the old days of the commission, we used to just have the peer reviewers send the bill. Yeah.
But that's why this setup
Yeah.
is important, because it's not a peer review, the monitor needs to through the money work for the commission.
Right.
They don't work for the applicant permittee, they work for us.
Yep.
That's why we're doing this kind of weird. Applicant gives us money, we use it to pay them.
So it's our responsibility.
Nope, it's
No.
it's the applicant's responsibility. That's how it's written in the order of conditions, is to make sure that this monitoring is able to happen by providing the funds for the commission to hire them. But it's important that the contract that this company has is with the commission, so that we're like the customer that needs to be happy at the end of the day, not the applicant. And I'm not trying to imply that the applicant would do anything nefarious. It's just that is the way to have it set up, to make sure that it is there's no question of what their intent is and what their purpose is. It's to serve the commission in this function of monitoring.
So if we agree, we want West and Sampson, then would we vote on it, but then wait to figure out what we should do with the monies, or we have to do everything at once?
I don't know if we need to vote on what we would hold in escrow, but we could just
No, I mean,
have
vote for who we want it.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I would
yeah.
recommend, is to
Yeah.
vote okay, we're choosing Weston Sampson or we're choosing Beals and Thomas.
Correct.
And then, but I think it would be important to try to settle so that it's reflected in the minutes and it's clear what I need to tell Weston Sampson, and then I can document it to the applicant of the understanding is that you need to provide this much at this before I can start. I need to know how much money the commission wants me to receive before I'll sign the contract with Weston Sampson. Weston Sampson has recommended 80,000. That's supposed to cover them for a year. The commission needs to decide if they're cool with doing some amount under that, because the applicant has requested that, because it's kind of burdensome for
Well,
them.
don't we first have to vote on whether we're choosing Western and Sampson?
Yeah, that would be the first piece. Yep. That would be the big.
Because if we choose Bills and Thomas, it's kind of not.
That's very fair.
Okay. Do we have a motion to select the peer review construction class monitor for 95, 97 Northampton Street?
I'll motion to choose Weston and Sampson to be the monitor for 93, 95, 97 Northampton Street.
All those in favor, roll call vote. Commissioner Weeks.
Aye.
Commissioner August.
Aye.
Commissioner Carr.
Aye,
Motion carries.
you don't have to vote when you're in the chair.
I guess not.
Since you don't vote against
Yeah.
it, you're kind of, the way I've always done it is you're voting for it, but because that's a quorum, then four votes.
Or,
So,
that's what I was asking, because we need 4.
Oh,
vote aye.
good question. Yeah. Yeah, I'll vote aye. Sure. I think I didn't think about that for the other votes that we did, but I voted aye on those two.
Yep.
In my mind. All right.
So then we have to figure out the second question. The amount of
Can you suggest as our chair which way we should do this? Or
comment from the public.
Comment from the public.
Sure. Nancy, what is standard practice when collecting an escrow?
well, it's a good question. This is the first time, at least since I've been in Easthampton, that we've done this kind of third-party construction monitoring. It's a long-term construction monitoring. So we don't really have a standard operating procedure in that sense for this project, or for doing that kind of long-term third-party thing that we're trying to do here. For other times that we've done it, we wanted the amount in full. So they were for the one-time this is the set scope. When they wanted, when it turned, like, so when we did the peer review, that one, it ended up being, we needed more funds. We needed more review, we ended up needing more funds, and so we kind of got I think it was like a supplemental contract from Beals and Thomas. I got the new escrow funds for that new additional month review, and then I signed the contract with Beals and Thomas.
But the original escrow was for the full amount.
Correct,
The
yep.
addition was requested because there was additional work that needed to be done.
Exactly right.
Frankly, as a member of the public, it throws up a few red flags to me that the developer would be asking to sort of slow down the amount of money that's coming in. If they can't manage to come up with $80,000 for an escrow, makes me wonder how much cash flow issue there is an issue, and makes me more nervous about the project. We don't need to be bending ourselves for the developers. This is to protect the city. We're not here to work for the developers.
Appreciate the comment. Thank you. My thought was that if we did, take less, I want to keep a couple of months ahead anyways, you know, so like at work, if we are working for a private entity that we don't usually work with, we'll ask for a retainer, and then we carry that retainer balance to the end of the project, you know, so that if there's not payment or something like that, then we have a balance at least a little bit ahead. So like what I was thinking would be like, if we ask for half, but then always keep 20, like say 20 grand, you know, like in between what we've paid out and what we have in escrow or something, then that's probably a couple of months of invoices ahead, you know.
So if we asked for 40 and then they got down to 10, we might ask them to give us another 10.
Yeah, or
That
the way I would look at it is, so say we asked for 40, as soon as it got down to 20, or as we were approaching only having 20 left, it would be I would look at it as if we're going to be at 0 when we have 20, because we're saving that to the end.
Yeah.
That's our like buffer, and we shouldn't touch it until we're near the end of the project, if that sound right?
Mhm.
Like, look at that as the floor.
Yep.
And then keep requesting as we get, so we kind of raising the point at which I would request for additional funds.
Yep. So we asked for 40 initially, and then once we use 20, we asked for another 20. So then we have that 40, you know, reestablished back in escrow. So I couldn't imagine that that Weston Sampson would be spending more than 20 grand a month. It's probably less than that, you know, so that way we're always at least a month or two ahead.
And the 80,000 is their estimate.
Right.
There.
Right.
Yep.
So the 40,000 up front would cover the stream crossing and still leave us with a 25,000.
And again, if it came to be that we ran out, we were like, oh, we reached that limit, that was always going to be the case, that we need to require more, or else we stop the project, if that makes sense, until we get the more. We don't just say, oops, and now we have all these bills we can't pay. Never allowed to get to that situation. The project would be penalized for not keeping up with those funds.
Mhm.
I think
So
yeah.
violation, they would have to pay. Violation.
Oh, yeah, if there was a violation, we'd have to first see that in its own way. But this is just, this one condition can become a violation if they don't keep up with the payments, if that makes sense. So there always was that mechanism, there always will be that mechanism at the commission's, you know, disposal. And what else was I gonna say? I think either way, we should try to have like 20,000. I think that's a good idea. 20,000 should be like the floor in terms of just how the agent will operate, and be like, oh, we're getting there. We gotta save this on at the end.
And then if we're approaching the 20,000 floor, how much would we ask for to be put in?
That's the thing. So that's why it's becoming complicated, because right now it's like, give us the 80,000. And then when we get close to the end of that, like when we got to the 20,000 at the end of that, then would be the time to be like, all right, Weston Sampson, it's time for the new contract. How much do we need now next time? Like, what is your recommendation for what the re-up amount is, if that makes sense?
So could you provide the 80,000 if we require the 80,000?
I mean, I'm asking the commission to understand that that's a significant sum of money to put up front before the project even starts, knowing that that's purely an estimate of what they're going to spend over a 12-month period.
That doesn't really answer the question. Are you
Yes.
saying are you saying you're not financially able to provide it?
I'm not suggesting that. I just find that it's a big ask on the applicant to, I mean, this will be over $100,000 in review fees on the project to date. So just asking for a little consideration that, you know, I'm not asking to put up $5,000. I understand that there's significant money here, but
It's a big project. So it's
we
expensive.
understand that, and we understand that they're responsible for all the fees throughout the whole project. I just asking for a little bit of consideration that it not be required to be put in a bank account day one.
When do you think you'll actually start construction? Meet all the pre-construction requirements and start? What's the?
We're anticipating the MIPA certificate end of the month. So hopefully sometime in August. We would be gearing up for pre-construction, the physical part of the pre-construction requirements, marking the limit of work, silt fence, etc.
We could just continue on the escrow question until next week. I'm sure Julie will have something to say about that too.
So
And-
that's the thing. Well, we can.
Oh.
Definitely we can. You guys are within your power to do that. I'm not gonna sign that contract though until I get whatever the amount that the commission wants in escrow. Like that's
I mean, sign the contract
with Weston's. Yep. I mean,
mean-
first, then I sign it.
Also, do we need to consult with does the city have an attorney for these kind of contracts?
I haven't needed to consult with an attorney. I mean, you guys are doing a review right now for other things, and like this, the process with the peer review and other peer reviews that we've done in the past is that I write a scope, you guys approve it, we get the responses back, and you guys choose one. And then I make sure I get the money in place, and then once it's confirmed in escrow, then I'll sign the contract. We can ask to do that. I don't think it's necessary because these people, we've been reviewing them.
I'm only asking because I just had a meeting with a lawyer this morning who was saying that a law was passed last year that lawyers can, this is irrelevant but relevant, but like lawyers can't hold retainers for more than 6 months anymore. They have to give them back if they haven't used any of the money in 6 months. So they have to keep redoing the contracts, and I didn't know that. And it's sort of like there are random changes that are happening to the law, and I'm not qualified to know what those changes are. This is a contract that the city's entering into, and it just seems for that much money, maybe it's worth just asking a lawyer if there's any special things we need to know about how much and how long, and in terms of escrow accounts. I don't know if we have like an attorney for the city
We do.
that we can just call and ask that question.
So if you reach out to Julie in the meantime, now that we voted on it, if she gives you an answer, could you then move forward? Like if she says we should do the full amount, or we should do half and 20 increments.
Yeah, I mean, it's really so right now what we're dealing with is them complying with the order of conditions, which is fully at the commission's discretion of how they determine they do that. So I would say if that's how the commission wants to do it, if she's able to get that information, you can do it that way. But I'm not gonna, I need to know, have it confirmed what the initial escrow amount is gonna be before I can sign the contract. So it's up to you guys. If that's what you want to do and you think that's acceptable, we can do it that way. But you could just continue it all to the next meeting and do it that way. And I could also talk to Weston Sampson and see if they have a recommendation of how they want it. Just advice on how they think it should be approached. We could do that too. And I don't know if you guys want me to try to reach out to the city attorney.
The ability to do this kind of peer review payment thing, that's there's some little like neuron in the back of my brain saying there's some state law that enables communities to be able to do that if communities have a certain ordinance or something like that.
We don't need the ordinance in the Wetlands Protection Act. The commission is empowered to retain funds to pursue peer review. So that is something that the commission is empowered to do the Wetlands Protection Act. I believe it's also called like a 53G account. There is like other legal things empowering the city to do such things. But it is in the Wetlands Protection Act explicitly.
So, but it's enabled through this city regulatory, universe, and not like not a different law that would cover private practice for some reason. So I guess what I'm saying is I don't see that there would be there would be anything different relative to the city's ability to do this kind of thing.
I mean, I guess I would feel like we have some fiduciary responsibility to make sure there's enough funds for this, and I would feel comfortable asking for like 40,000 upfront, but with a 20,000 bottom. But Julie may have like a whole different take on why doesn't make sense and isn't workable. And so I guess if we had to vote right now, that would be my.
Well, yes, you already voted to choose Weston Simpson. That's helpful. I just want to make it clear that I'm not going to start the contracting process until we sort this out, which is fine. It just means that I might not be the person doing the contracting, which is also okay. And it would be the new agent who would pursue that. And I would leave clear notes of how to do that and everything involved with that. But yeah, I think what I would do based on what you all are saying right now, what we could do is you made the motion to choose Weston and Sampson, but you have not established what the escrow amount that you want to require is, despite Weston and Sampson's recommendation. So I can reach out to Julie and try to get a response before the next meeting and establish it that way, or we can just kind of say at the next meeting we're in touch and try to figure it out then. And I think she's supposed to be there, but if she's not going to be there, then certainly get comments before that meeting. So it can be discussed then. And then it sounds like I don't know, do you think you want to reach out to Weston and Sampson, see if they have a recommendation?
Well, I was also thinking you could ask them how much of the scope of the 80,000, how much of that they think they'll do in the first few months.
Right, because that estimate is for the full year.
Right.
So we could ask them.
We just ask for 40 now and then like talk about it again next week and, tell Julie what the different things we talked about today and see if she's okay with it or see if she wants a full, or see if she thought it'd be better if we just got a full 80, and then ask for another 40 then. But otherwise keeping having a buffer of 20,000, I think is something that we should try to do.
Yeah, either way.
Yeah.
And that seems to make a lot of sense. So I could easily sleep on that or sleep with that.
Yeah.
Standing or
Standing or lying down.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I agree we're here to serve the public, not the applicant, but I always think it's worth being reasonable in business negotiations.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. So you've chosen Weston and Sampson. You guys are cool with requiring 40 at this time. And so I will start the contracting with authority, and then at the next meeting, the commission could say, you know what, we need the full, and then just get that now at the next meeting as well. You can
Right.
do, you can
Yeah.
choose to do that. Okay.
This way you can sign a contract with Weston and Sampson, you know, and we're off to a start anyways, off to the races. Yeah.
Nancy, I have a couple questions. You had said at the beginning of the meeting that there was some stuff that's not yet completed in terms of pre-work. I wasn't sure what you meant by that.
Sure. So basically, there's a number of pre-construction requirements for the project.
Mhm.
Some of them are documentation that we need to get before the project can start. I kind of group them into two categories,
Okay.
documentation, and then the other category is on-site conditions that need to be proven. So the documentation is completed except for this final contracting that we're talking about doing today with Weston and Sampson. And then we haven't received the final NEPA report. So those are the outstanding documents for paperwork side.
Mhm.
On-site, we've not confirmed any of the on-site stuff. We usually try to do that in one pre-construction meeting. But if they don't have it, then we'll say, well, continue until you can prove that we can have it. So what we do is establish this on-site meeting. The monitor, this person that we're going to contract with today will be there.
Mhm.
Representatives of the project will be there. And then we will confirm that those on-site conditions are in place. That includes a DEP file number sign, a sign that shows what the file number is so folks can look it up. The other requirement is that I'm trying to remember them all, but the typical ones that we require is that the limit of work be flagged, that the erosion controls that are required for phase one are installed.
Mhm.
I think also another thing was that the basin locations need to be flagged out. And those areas are protected. They're not driving over them during construction. The wetlands need to be flagged in all locations where it's within 50 feet of the project, where the work is. If it's within 50 feet of the work, they have to have the wetlands flagged. Some exterior stuff where they're not gonna be going near that, we don't make them reflag it, but we have that information on file where all the wetlands are, of course, from the permitting process. There's more. I can't remember they all are off the top of my head. We can review them now if the commission wants me to, but that's kind of the other half that we haven't done that yet, but I wouldn't expect them to be done yet. It's kind of that whenever they're ready to start, they're like, okay, let's go out there and take a look and make sure that they're all there.
So, and just understanding the process, because the planning board is also going to discuss this on August 6th. So for their piece, they had said that the NEPA process needs to be done and the Mass DOT project need to be done, which won't start until the NEPA project process is done. So in terms of construction at this moment, it won't start until after the Mass DOT stuff is done, which would likely be sometime in September. If I understand the Mass DOT process, except that the developer has requested a waiver to start sooner.
Right, so the Mass DOT piece is not one of our pre-construction requirements.
I know.
No, and I appreciate that.
Planning boards.
And the reason is because the commission received the design for each possible design
Yep.
of that closing. So we don't need to get that final approval for Mass DOT because either way that they build it, they've proven that the stormwater system will drive with that appropriately and all that stuff.
Yep.
So, it's a good point that we don't know. They might get delayed by the planning board if the planning board decides not to grant that such a waiver. But we won't grant them to get started until all of our pre-construction requirements have been met. So they might meet everything from the planning board and planning board says they can start, but that won't mean that they can start regardless of our requirements. They need to meet both to start.
So I think my comment though is that the planning board wasn't really aware of where you guys were in the process and they didn't seem to know what your conditions were when they were meeting the last time. And I think it's important that they know that when they're making that decision about the waiver. And certainly you guys know what they're doing so that there's no confusion.
Yeah, I can get that information to them. They haven't reached out to me to ask for that, but I can. I mean, we're in this.
Suggested at the meeting that
Oh,
they
that's
do.
good. Yeah, I know that their main staff person is on vacation this week. So it may just be that he hasn't connected me with yet about that. But certainly all those documents are available to them. So, but it shouldn't be, we won't not give them the go ahead for our requirements.
They just need to have the information so they can make an informed decision as opposed to making a decision with only part of the information. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, further discussion, or questions or comments from anybody on this item?
Are we continuing or are we voting on the 40,000?
So, we don't need to continue the meeting because it's already an active project. It's gonna be on the agenda for hereafter until the project is closed. But I just wanna make sure I understand correctly again. You chose Weston Sampson, you guys are giving me the go ahead to establish the contracting with getting the 40,000 in escrow.
Mhm.
And then, obviously we're empowered to ask for more if we determine at the next meeting that we do want more. Sorry, we don't wanna just leave it at the 40. And then also, regardless, the 20,000 is gonna be like the floor until the project is closer to being closed out. But yeah, so that sounds okay with you guys. I'll go forward with the contract and getting that 40, barring I get the 40,000.
Mhm. Yep.
Cool.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Yep. Yeah, I'll give you a call tomorrow, Brian.
Thanks, Cassie.
Okay. We're gonna go into regular agenda order.
All right.
Uh,
Let's start talking about a regular agenda order stuff we're doing. Okay. That brings us to enforcement actions. 6A, Beagle 37 South Street. Anything?
No updates, still trying to connect since it set up the new site visit. He came back from vacation on Friday, according to like his secretary. And I tried to call him today and just didn't get an answer, so
All right.
still trying to set it up.
6B, 476 East Street.
Yeah, so I did a site visit today, and share pictures if you want, but basically kind of the same as when I last went out there. This is my error. Last time I went out there, it was like June of last year, and it was very vegetated. I didn't see evidence that it was primarily like invasives or anything like that, but none of the it doesn't seem that any of the tree plantings that were done survived.
Right.
And so that was part of what was, she kind of cleared that whole space, and some of it included some trees. And so, it's fully vegetated, but there aren't these trees being replaced from the ones that were removed.
Wasn't it? I don't know if I'm remembering it right, but wasn't it like she was having a hard time getting the replacement trees, weren't in stock or something?
She did it once, but then
she did.
yeah, she did do a tree planting once. They just didn't survive. So,
So, did you visit the site yourself, or
Yeah.
was she the property owner in attendance?
she wasn't there, but she gave me permission to just go myself.
Mhm.
Because we have an enforcement order, we can also just go.
Mhm.
But it's always nice to coordinate if we can. But she was nice enough to say, no, go ahead. She's having some personal things going on in her life that she was like, I can't. It's like it would be difficult to try to go with me. I didn't need her to be there. It's more just trying to see what the condition was. The last thing the commission asked me to do was try to get out there in the fall, so when the vegetation has died back, and I wasn't able to do that. And so now it's like, do we want to wait again until the fall to see what it looks like after that? I can show you the pictures.
Well, some trees are dead now, they're probably gonna be dead.
I think, yeah, now since they haven't like a murder. Yeah, and because that's a really good point. That was one of the things that I think is the reason we did that, is because we were like, well, maybe they're just little tiny dudes and they're under there somewhere.
Oh, okay.
But you'd think they'd be bigger by now. So I think,
I have a question. That's the second time that it's come up. So since we often seem to ask for in our planting requirements, we ask for trees. And this is the second time we've had an incident where the trees didn't survive when it was fully vegetated. Is there some reason why we don't just say we want it fully vegetated rather than specifying trees? Is there something about trees that's important for wetland area?
Well, the trees that were there, isn't there like a stream?
yeah, so that's what the reason
I
this was a
mean,
violation is because there is like this stream coming off the mountain that then goes under, and we have an old plan confirming that is like an intermittent stream, it's jurisdictional. It's not, there's a lot of streams that come off of Mount Tom that aren't jurisdictional, but this one was confirmed as to be the case based off of old permitting delineations. And so, yes, I mean, it is important when any tree is removed anywhere, but this one, in this instance, they have, I think traditionally the commission has viewed any the way it's described in the act is vegetation removal. Removing trees is a type of vegetation removal,
Sure.
but the trees can sometimes be more impactful than other vegetation, but how to quantify that, I couldn't say in this moment.
I mean, one thing I've heard is that trees actually cool streams by shading them, and
Right.
lower vegetation won't do that.
Yep, that's very true.
What kind of trees they were, or varieties or anything?
They weren't pine trees. They were deciduous trees. I can say that at least from the aerial imagery.
All right, so anyways, action item is to reach back up to the property owner, I guess, and
Yeah, maybe,
Well-
I think what I really need to do is also, I mean, this is the thing, it's hard with enforcement. It's like, what do we feel like it's resolved? And the biggest, number one concern is stabilize, and then renaturalization. And then to what level of detail does the commission want to require that? Because the initial piece was to require that they, do the plantings, but they didn't survive. So now the commission has to choose if they want to require the plantings again. You can't make the decision tonight, that's okay. You can continue and go back after the property owner, see if they have the input on like what they can or can't do. I think that if they were gonna, the way that it is now is that to do the replantings, they might have to disturb area again to do that. And I don't know what that it would entail. And if that is like a concern in terms of like,
It's a little tree. It wouldn't be
Right.
that much.
but then would the little tree be able to survive?
But they already tried that. I think they were
They would-
little.
Yeah,
But maybe
very
it's
small.
because of the kind of tree.
Very possible. Very possible. So that, maybe the best thing, and I apologize, I didn't have this for this meeting, would be to like get a little more details of like what the commission originally required and like what the species were and all those things and see like, I think either way, the situation now is that what the commission originally required, that's not what's there right now, but it's your vegetation is stable. So that's where it becomes like your guys' decision of what else you want to see happen there.
And you said you had pictures.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. We want to look at the pictures of it. I saved it. Oh my gosh. I'm just looking at the school. Hold on.
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing a tree list here right now.
Let's see what's today. 22nd. Let me share my screen. That's not her house. That one tree is kind of like the extent of where the clearing happened. Everything was to like the left over this way is where the clearing happened. And then there's like the road was really close to the right here. So I'm gonna pan around and show you it. Wrong way. Okay. Well, the road was really close behind, it's essentially behind me in these images. And, there's like an inlet, catch basin that the stream like empties into. There's like the stream doesn't, there's an enter culvert and carry on under that way. But so, yeah, this is the area where the clearing occurred. It wasn't even immediately like super apparent where the stream channel was. I did walk through the center of it. This is the abutting property. This is the inlet for the drain. You can see a little erosion that happens. It kind of goes around the tree that was existing. I saw like a lot of jewelweed, some of these larger like reedy plants. It didn't look to me like there was a huge amount of invasives. There's this tree right here, but I think that was there. That might be on the other property. See these like larger broadleaf grassy guys. Yes.
Weren't there stumps?
Yeah,
along
the stumps
the
would be like up
sides?
here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. They're kind of more up this way. Farther up along.
The stumps are still there.
They should be. I think that's one right there.
That would impact some of the growing of the new trees.
Potentially, but I think that most of the plantings were in other places. We want the stumps to remain because removing the stumps is very disturbing to the ground. And we don't, and they are stabilizing the ground. So we don't want them to be removed. At least that's my recommendation, would not be for them to be removed. I think the stream channel is kind of like along here. There's another stump up here.
Yeah, and there's one in
Yeah.
the foreground. too.
Yeah, this guy right here. But yeah. So yeah, I saw jewel weed. I saw what we're seeing in the what is Solidago? What is that? Goldenrod. I can't believe I remember the science name of it.
It makes a really good tea.
Yeah, very cool. But it's also, it's not an invasive, it's like a wetland indicator species. I didn't notice any like knotweed or anything like that. This is the dominant veg. It's this right here. You can see the jewel weed flowers interspersed. Looking back at the row from the tree. There's the tree. Oh yeah.
I think we probably agree that we want, you know, if they cut trees and we require they plant trees, we want to see trees, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yep.
Can we ask for a certain size tree to make
Yeah.
sure it's,
We asked for 1-inch DBH the first time around.
So you can ask for more, you can ask, yeah, you can do that. And it'd be good to identify like a number again. So that's where I think identifying the number might be kind of easy, because I just need to look at how many trees were cut. Looks like it was at least maybe 3 or 4.
Well, do you remember what species the trees that were cut were?
I didn't get a chance to like inspect them before the cutting happened. All I know is they were deciduous. They likely were some kind of a wetland tolerating tree. So something wetland tolerating would probably be most likely to survive there.
Yeah, I'll let it blow up. Cottonwood, blackwood, silver maple.
So last time, did we give them a number? We said 1 inch. DVH, do we give them a number? Do we give them a list of varieties they're from? I guess I'd be surprised if we could just be like, here's everything else from last time, do this again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know you're probably looking at it right there, Sarah. So if you see it, let me know. But that's one of the things I think I would need to look into the file and let
Well,
y'all
the
know.
weird thing is, it says, the enforcement order directs the property owner to develop a restoration plan by June 13th, 2022. And this is a letter from April 2022, but I don't see any plan that was ever submitted by June. And then we're just into site visits. So
Right. I think
I
if you
don't-
look back at the minutes.
is there a restoration plan that was submitted in June 2022?
Two things. One, it may not have been submitted. Two, it may have been submitted, but it's in the physical file, or we talked about it in the minutes and I just never digitally scanned it in and upload it. Three, the commission might come to some kind of agreement of being like, oh, well, we talked about it at the meeting here. We established a plan at the meeting and did it that way. So that's why I need to like look back and see what the deal was.
I think something like that we can't tell like an agreement during a meeting.
So where,
It's been a
where
while.
are the
I
minutes?
think the owner volunteered to buy several trees
Yeah.
and plant them. And then that's all I can remember of that.
This 5, okay, so now I'm looking at this letter. That was sent April 26, 2022. We require no additional mowing. New tree planting shall be installed in the same, so this kind of is the restoration plan, this document then, can you see it? Yeah.
But
This
it
sounds
doesn't
like
specify
restoration.
numbers are tight.
Oh, I see. This is like the parameters of the restoration plan. Yeah. Yeah, I need to just go back and look. I think is where we're at.
All right.
Yeah.
And this information will be, our new agent will have access to it. Okay. All right. Well, as long as that's the case. I'm in favor of moving on to the next topic unless there's other questions on this one. I was hoping that I was paying off without the entire agenda.
You what? Sorry.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Enforcement Act 6C, 93 Northampton Street.
Yeah, so, no updates for that one. The pre-construction requirement is that they've already, the first phase needs to include removing the crossing. So that's kind of like the piece to keep an eye on generally is like, if the project is delayed, we gave them a set time frame. The agreement was to have it in the first phase of construction, which should fit within that time frame, which so far looks like it is going to do that. But if for some crazy reason the project got delayed for like many months, it'd be like, well, this is the question, when are you gonna remove the crossing? Because that was something that we only gave you that allowance for a certain period of time. So that's something just to keep an eye on, but otherwise, yeah.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Challenge, 6E, 10 Industrial Parkway.
Do we skip D?
Yeah.
That's- Oh, yeah, 6D.
Yeah,
sorry.
I do have an update for that.
Nice try.
Whoops.
So have we heard back from them if they agree to the donation?
So, yeah, so 6973, yes, I got confirmation from, Carlos Gonzalez, who is the contractor, that he would be providing the final amount of funds. Basically, the way that's gonna work again is that we still hold 3,800 in escrow. We're gonna return that to them, and then they need to make a donation of $5,000 to the Conservation Trust. And so,
We
that,
see evidence of that.
yeah, they should give us like maybe PCT should be able to provide some kind of like receipt or confirmation from PCT saying that like we got it. That's what I'll be looking for. So that'll be one of the last pieces.
You won't be looking.
Oh, I won't be, but we will be. Or we do, but yeah.
Okay.
So, and then we looked at the plantings along the slope. And I have new pictures of that. I don't know if you guys want to look at them now, but
No.
yeah, you can do it.
Unless you guys want to, but.
Does it look good?
I thought it looked good. The plantings are coming on. They're not like huge, but it's certainly stable.
So we're not ready
They
to
survive.
close the enforcement action yet anyway till we get the receipt.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Moving on.
All right. E, 10 Industrial Parkway.
Oh yeah, so we did a site visit today. This is the same story. So, they did this clearing of this kind of base, this, I can't remember what the size of it is, at the end of this, long area, and that kind of encroached on the 100-foot buffer zone. The commission required them to do burn plantings and tree plantings. The majority of the tree plantings have survived. I think just one tree didn't look like it was doing too good. That it just didn't have any leaves, but all the other trees looked like they were doing well. It certainly is vegetated, but the ferns didn't survive, which we established at a previous meeting, which they didn't survive. But certainly stabilized. The surrounding area doesn't have ferns. It's way more vegetated than the surrounding area because it has so much more sunlight than the rest of the shaded tree area. But that one's in good shape, but the trees look healthy, they look good. So.
Is there other vegetation where the fruits would have been?
Yes. Oh, it's fully vegetated throughout the entirety of it.
And it's not invasive.
It doesn't look to be invasive to me. And you thought it seemed like maybe it was like some species of like ragweed, maybe dominant. There's a mix of things in there, but it didn't look like any of the telltale invasives were in there. Like the common invasives that I would see. Like
Well, it won't help my allergies, but I would agree.
So if you're saying it's stable and they're not doing any more plantings.
Let me just take this one off.
If you guys feel like discussion, I'll share the
Well, why
pictures.
did we keep it on? Isn't that
Because, so one of the things is that Julia, well, at one of the previous meetings had asked to, there was a concern that the vegetation is there, might just like die back. So it was like, okay, maybe go out again and take a look and see, like, it's still holding up. I mean, I can show you the pictures. It's very, very vegetated.
But if you want.
Okay. So yeah, this one, I feel it's a pretty small area considering this first picture is not the area, it's like leading to the area. It's just beyond this. They kind of like increase the grade, so it's actually kind of below this, if that makes sense. So we're kind of walking up to it. This is the area. You can kind of see this like line is where
it's shorter or where it's longer?
where it's shorter is where they didn't, basically from to the left of my cursor, this area is where they had to let revegetate. And so they've kind of gone beyond that. They've revegetated along this little slope up to that bare area that we were standing on before. But the tree plantings are here, here, here.
Yeah.
This guy back here. There were some shorter dudes working their way up there. There was one back, this one, and I have a better picture of it. It didn't seem like it had no leafy vegetation on it. So I was like, this is look like it survived. This is the rest of the forested area by comparison. And this is the restored area. Where the vegetation they've allowed to grow back is one of the tree plantings. This is one of the tree plantings. This is the one that doesn't look like it's doing too hot. They put like these stabilizing things on it. It just, I don't know, just didn't make it still.
Twiggy.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have any like leaves on it. Another trees. This is like representative of the rest of the vegetation that's kind of like dominating it throughout the rest. This is the leafy guy, a woody guy right there.
I don't know, let's leave it on until Julie can look at it, but I
Okay.
think I'm just, there's no enforcement order for this, right? It's
No,
kinda
because
just
they've been compliant and it was such a small area that we were like, they immediately were compliant. We didn't need to issue.
Looks good to me.
All right. Any other things on enforcement actions?
No.
All right, open space updates, 7A Equidale West Orchard area improvements.
No updates. And so
You reached out to the new contact,
Yeah, yeah.
some laptop and nothing.
Where,
So I guess they're gonna keep doing that, and then really what it needs to be is
The new
to
year.
pursue a new contract with a new company. I think if you can establish communication with them, but it's kind of stuck either way because it keeps raining and Jay hasn't been able to go out there to do the mow. That is what we've been paused on, and so until he can do the mow, it's gonna pause either way. Just hasn't been able to do it for a long time, not because of not being willing or able or kind of like not doing it, it's because it's been too wet and it's like he thinks it's how we get stuck. Yeah.
385, Main Street. Keep wanting to say Northampton Street, but 385 Main Street, conservation restriction.
No updates. Just noting that this is for the conservation restriction, which is for the area outside of what we will likely receive an application in the future, for it. I anticipate that we will, but it will be for the area outside of the conservation restriction. So they're kind of separate issues, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
But I don't have any updates for this one. We're kind of just waiting on them.
Okay.
They're supposed to reach out to us, right?
Yeah, because ultimately they're gonna need, even though the commission like has kind of tentatively agreed and we're like, okay, we're cool with this wording at previous meetings. It's not a done deal until the commission signs it.
Right.
And they have not signed it yet. So not done.
Is there a site visit for 385 Northampton Street or Main Street? I said it again. Or did I just completely like imagine that?
I think there was a site visit, so that's why I'm anticipating to get the rest of the application have to be completed, but it's not been, the application, I haven't gotten confirmation of the abutter notifications, which this means its application's not complete. So that's why I'm saying like tentatively, likely at the next meeting in the future, but it's not confirmed yet,
Okay.
so that's why I'm kind of saying it that way. But likely, very likely will be. There was a site visit for that in anticipation of that coming, so I sent that notice to all of you and we got pictures, but I don't want to, we're not in that hearing, so I can't really talk about it.
Yeah. Compliance updates, if there's nothing else on open space updates.
Yeah.
Okay. Active projects, open permits. A, Pleasant Street Mills.
Yeah, the only thing I'm waiting on this, kind of where we left off, is that you need to reach out to DPW and see if they could do the work to redo the basin, if that seems to be needed. So I haven't been able to connect with them yet to see if they even could do that work.
See, we need DPW. There's a lot of things getting.
I don't know, they're busy. They will be willing to talk to me. They're really good about keeping up typically.
Yep.
But so yeah, I gotta do that.
All right.
So the new you. The new you.
Yeah.
B, Lathrop Invasive Plant Management.
No,
No updates. C, Natural Pond, Vegetation Management.
no.
What, did you just do a site visit or something?
Yeah, did I talk about this last meeting? I thought I did.
No, I think you were about to do the site visit and you hadn't.
Oh, then I did do it. I did do the site visit. Sorry, couldn't remember what we, where we left it off the last meeting. I thought I gave you the thoughts. So they have pre-construction requirements every time they do a treatment. And so Hal joined me on the pre-construction meeting and we confirmed that the signage was up correctly and that we got the data, the dissolved oxygen monitoring data prior to the application and then post-application as is required. There haven't been any issues reported as a result of the treatment.
All right. D, Logan Properties.
No updates.
All right. E1 Industrial Lofts, 1 Ferry Street, Track 1.
No updates.
1 Industrial Lofts, 1 Ferry Street, Track 2.
No updates.
East Hampton Park 1 Solar, 232 Main Street. I guess what we talked about earlier. Yep, okay. East Hampton School Committee, we just talked about that. I-6972 Lowville Road.
Unrelated to the enforcement order, I will note again that, some of the residents reached out and were just still concerned that they want to make sure that when they do come for certificate compliance, the commission ensures that the steep slopes have been addressed. They've already addressed 2 of them apparently and like regraded. Commissioner already talked about this previous meeting. So I anticipate that will be something that the commission will want confirmation of if and when they do come for certificate compliance. Make sure those steep slopes along the property are graded appropriately as was, shown in the plan, and then through long-term stability has been achieved, especially in those areas, but of course throughout the entire site. Just something to kind of like, and that the basin is functioning correctly. Those were always going to be the main things, but just I wanted to highlight that just for the record. And also just as a general note, I'm going to be leaving an exit memo with the status of all these projects for the new agent, and I'll share it with you all. So like, I don't have these updates now because there's just nothing new to report, but that status will be made clear before I leave of all the projects.
Okay. 108 Oliver Street.
No updates.
The City of Easthampton DPW routine maintenance, citywide order of conditions, then move up.
No updates.
Do you hear from them periodically on stuff, or?
They haven't needed to do anything really recently. Most of the routine maintenance, when they reach out, it's for like, okay, we need to do like a major like cleaning the culvert, or I'm trying to think of some of the projects they reached out for in the past. I can't remember, but no, they haven't need to. The DPW, Diane, is very familiar with what is needed and what the process is. So DPW will reach out sometimes and be like, do we need to do an extra project review for this? And oftentimes it's like, no, it's only for like kind of bigger projects that we have the set work categories. So I will review the work categories when they reach out, but they haven't needed to reach out in a minute. So, things have been okay.
Okay. City of Easthampton 99 Mount Tom Ave.
No updates.
Okay. Did somebody say we might see a certificate of compliance request sometime?
I reached out to them, but they said that what they're waiting for confirmation that the plantings, they need another growing season to make sure all the plantings are have come in sufficiently and have survived.
Okay, cool. 50 Florence Road, Deacon Solar LLC. That's the, with that. Grading adjustment.
Regrading, yep.
Yep.
No updates.
Okay. Movement storage, Main Street rear. We haven't heard anything about that in a while.
Yeah.
have we?
They got their permit and they haven't reached out yet. They haven't started. So if they don't start, then
They'll expire.
That's one where part of it's in Easthampton, part of it's in Southampton.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. 65 Lovefield Street.
No updates.
P, Tasty Top, 93, 95, 97 Northampton Street. And we talked about that previously discussed. Q, East Hampton Housing Authority out of Elm Street.
Yeah, updates. So they're working on trying to get their pre-construction matters completed. I haven't received any of the documentation that's related to that, so they're not ready to get started, but they do want to do the site visit on July 24th at 9 a.m., which they can do. But they said that the erosion controls may not yet be installed at that time, so we'll have to do another one in September, likely is when they wanted to start. But they wanted to just do a site visit to make sure that they were on track, which is fine.
We'll go ahead with the site visit
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll still do it, but I just think it's likely they'll have to do another one if they don't have all the on-site stuff set. So I don't anticipate giving them the go ahead to start work on the 24th. Certainly wouldn't do that until we receive all the paperwork that's required as well.
All right. Sounds good. Our Dodge residence, 120 East Street, on stream restoration. No, okay. At City of Easthampton, DPW Emerald Place.
Oh,
No updates. TE, Our Lady of the Valley, 109 Everett Street, stormwater permit only for cemetery expansion. I forgot about that one.
yeah. So this one was funny because it was an RDA And then we also issued a stormwater permit for it.
And
So it's on here now really as stormwater permit only, because that's where all the conditions were. The only conditions on the determination of applicability was to install the erosion controls as designed and give prior 48 hours notice, which they met. The update for that, though, is that they met the pre-construction requirements under the stormwater permit. There also was, and I did a site visit on the 9th of July. And everything was in order. They installed straw wattles around the perimeter for the tree removal, because the silt fencing would have been destroyed through that process. But they're installing the silt fencing this week, if I understand it. So I'll confirm that to make sure that the controls have been upgraded and that it's physically possible. They also had a change to the plan. So I'll get you here, and all it did was reduce the plan. So there was, you can kind of see the red on the bottom corner, but there was originally a driveway connection that was proposed to the existing cemetery, and they've eliminated that entirely from the project. So there
Wasn't there
won't,
like a little memorial garden?
that was something else, which I think is still in there. It's like midway up.
And how will you get to it?
You'd have to come to the main driveway.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
They've cleared a lot of trees over the
Sure
last
did.
week and a half.
Yep, exactly as
And one thing
expected.
that puzzles me is
Yes.
that there are actually some straw wattles in the existing part of,
Yeah,
and
I'll
okay,
explain that.
what, oh, no, you know why they're doing it.
The reason is because they installed the erosion controls, the spec on this plan, before it was determined that they were gonna eliminate that part of the project. So those controls were
Okay,
installed,
yeah.
assuming they were gonna install this connection down here in the bottom corner. But then they were like, we're not doing that anymore. So they just left the controls, which is fine. They can leave them. But they're not gonna, there's not gonna be any disturbance related to that.
Mhm.
But it's this driveway all the way back to here that they were gonna do, which is no more gonna happen. Which is an improvement because it means less ground disturbance for the 100
So-
person.
Is that house that's there going to remain?
So the house isn't part of the property.
It is
Well,
part of
it
the
is.
property.
That house belongs to the diocese.
Yeah. So
What are
they,
they gonna
I don't know
do?
what, they might make it a maintenance building. They might, no changes proposed.
There won't be any dead people.
No, I don't
Well,
think so.
they have their own little apartments as it were.
The kind of
Let's
memorial
hope
thing
not.
is this right here that you were talking about.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they're doing.
Yeah.
that. But, yeah, they eliminated that from the project. This is all gonna stay the same, so.
Okay.
all right. Thank you for that update. General business, meeting minutes.
So I have the comments. Did you leave any more? I saw that you had responded.
I did?
Or did you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, never mind. I don't know
I
what I'm talking about.
decided, I read them. And I decided, since there were only a few minor typos, that Deb had probably already caught them.
Yeah, I saw your, okay, your message was about something else. But yeah, Deb reviewed the minutes for content and for, corrections and accuracy and all that stuff, and I incorporated her corrections.
Motion to approve the minutes as with Deb's correction.
Second,
Roll call vote. All those in favor? Commissioner Carr.
Aye.
Commissioner August. Commissioner Weeks.
I,
Motion carries.
You should update this. You ready?
Yeah, here's an update.
Drum roll. This is my last meeting, but we have found a new agent. Ava, Ava, can you say your last name again? I'm sorry.
Ava Gerstel.
Hi, Ava. Hello.
hi, welcome.
I'm really excited to work with all of you.
I figured that's why you were here.
So we did some training days. We did the interviews with, Commissioner Bucha. The chair was able to attend the interviews in the end, which was awesome. So I didn't need to do the checking with her after. Did she help make the decision? Really good candidates. But Ava was, came out on top and we're really lucky to have her. We did a training day today. We're going to do some more training tomorrow. We're also going to change training on the 29th. So good little amount of overlap, but also to prepare her, I'm going to create an exit memo, and I still have a number of those like guidance documents that will be available to her and all the other resources that we have with the SCP and the chair resource for the agent. So she'll be updated with what the status of all the projects is, and that'll be good. But one of the things that is something for the commission to consider is that she's not starting until August 14th. The next meeting is August 12th. And we have continued some items to August 12th. The commission, what I can do is get the agenda posted, get the minutes prepared, everything prepared for that meeting, but there just won't be a staff person here to take the minutes. They will be recorded, obviously, so they can watch it. So it's like there won't be an agent. This is the thing to understand for that meeting. Because I'll be gone. Not the end of the world, it's just one meeting, but it's your guys' decision. If you're like not possible, we gotta cancel that meeting. You guys. And also like
Does anybody know how to start the Zoom meeting?
I would be in touch with IT to make sure they had it set up.
Remember Melissa Cody had her key, and it was always like this big dramatic. The door, or whatever.
Yeah. No, I would communicate with IT, and make sure they had it set up for you and ready to go. Someone might have to start the recording.
So is it realistic to develop the minutes based on the recording?
Yeah, I think that could work.
Yeah. She's
Or I
taking
could
practice
just-
minutes right now.
Yeah.
I'm taking them too, but we're gonna I'm gonna see how.
I could also take minutes. I'm a pretty fast typer. And then I could just send them to Ava after.
Okay, I think we should ahead with the 12th, especially because we continue a bunch of stuff to that day. Yep, true. Yep.
So the commission's discretion when to cancel a meeting, and then folks who can't make it, obviously the same practices. Just let us know if you can't make it. That's okay. You can go from there, but
Julie will be back by then.
I think so. She didn't say she wasn't gonna be there, so I think she'll be back. Yeah, good question.
All right. I got a message from the chair to read into the minutes here. All right. So let's see. July 22nd, 2024. That's today. The commission consists. The commission wishes to take this opportunity to officially recognize and thank Cassie Traeger for her years of service. As Easthampton's full-time conservation agent, you have been a tremendous asset in support of the commission, allowing our all-volunteer board to smoothly process and oversee applications and orders of condition for dozens of projects throughout the city, from small residential projects to major solar installations and housing developments. Not only have you juggled these projects successfully to keep us within the regulations, you have done so with cheer and grace only a true municipal servant possesses. Without your service, we would no doubt have been a less well-oiled machine with more outstanding projects left open, messier records and files, and less oversight and attention to the many simultaneous ongoing construction projects you have shepherded under our open permits. Beyond these compliance elements, you've also served the city by advancing our open space acquisitions, helping to lead the development of the city's climate action plan, and guided us through many months of effort towards a new city wetlands ordinance and regulations. The commission wishes you all the best in your graduate school pursuits. You'll be missed here in Easthampton. With gratitude and best wishes, Julie Buzet, Chair for the members of the Easthampton Conservation Commission.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That's
Yeah.
really nice, you guys.
But she's
That's like, I don't want to cry on the record. That'd be embarrassing. But
was it cheer and good?
Grace.
What?
Grace.
Grace, cheer and grace. Yes.
my God. Well, you guys have always been very patient with me. I know sometimes I've made errors or I didn't have the information we needed, and no one was just like really appreciative of that. And I've learned so much from all of you, like so much I can't even tell you. And I wouldn't feel like I was confident to go on to this next stage if I hadn't got to work with you guys. Like you got me to a place where I could do that. So I'm really grateful. And I'm sad to leave. It was awesome. I have no complaints. Like working with the public was awesome. Like it's just Easthampton's a really special city and there's a lot of cool stuff happening here. So you guys do important work and you're all volunteers. I can't stress that. Don't ever forget that. You're volunteers. You do a lot. So you put a lot of public service in for free. So I just commend you all. It's very inspiring to me. But thank you. I know I can't even think what else.
We
There's more.
really appreciate your time here, Cassie, and
We'll keep in touch.
I will.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll be in touch. I'll give you all my contact info and stuff like that.
Maybe you'll come back and share some.
Oh my gosh. No, it'll still be Julie. You guys will always still be
Whenever Julie.
Yeah. No, forever.
I'm not trying to get rid of Julie.
No, I just mean like, I mean, Melissa did it for 15 years, so that's kind of the standard, I'd say. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Wetlands ordinance update.
Now you can run for. Now you can run for vice president.
Oh my god.
That recommendation.
Oh yeah, right. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. And you could like teams in whenever you want, or
Oh yeah, I'll probably won't be able to help myself. Be watching like. How's it going?
all right.
Yeah.
So nothing on the wetlands ordinance.
No, nothing with wetlands ordinance. That one, it's still chugging along. We have a new agent who's gonna keep the carrying the torch, and we'll keep working on it. We're lucky to have him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, we're really good shape. We're really lucky to have this person who's as skilled as she is, and you're gonna be in good hands. So all these things will keep going.
Great.
Motion to adjourn. Aussie's last.
I'll second.
All in favor, roll call vote. Commissioner August,
Aye.
Commissioner Carr,
Aye.
Commissioner Weeks.
Aye.
All right, motion carries.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.